You're listening to Experience Imagination, a themed entertainment design podcast presented by Falcon's Creative Group. Every episode, we discuss a new topic with a panel of creative professionals. Hi, I'm Cecil McPuri, President and Chief Creative Officer of Falcons.
Welcome to our first episode of the year. I'm your host, Audrey DeLong. There are so many exciting things happening in the world of technology right now that we thought we'd start off 2022 by going into detail about one of them, real-time engines. Their impact on content creation has absolutely blown up over the last decade or so, but what exactly is real-time and what does it allow creators to do? To help answer those questions and many more, we have a very experienced panel on the podcast today. I'll have a conversation with members of the Falcons real-time team, and then I'm going to pass the baton to my colleague, Saham Ali, our Vice President of Technology at Falcons, who will speak with Ron Martin from Unity. Ron serves as Creative and Technical Director for their Solutions Group. Before we get to those guests, though, we thought it would be a good idea for Saham to help us set up the topic. After all, he landed a coveted Epic Unreal Fellowship in 2020, and he's our guiding light when it comes to bleeding-edge technologies and a lot of other things. So welcome, Saham.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's get right into it. I want to know, if you were going to give people who had no idea what real-time technology is the cliff notes, what is it? What does it do? Why is it called real-time?
There's a little bit of a joke that I like to put out there. Is effectively a real-time engine is a computer program that's stuck in an infinite loop. It's just evaluating a bunch of variables and showing it to us as quick as possible. And we tend to see that in more often than not in video games, but real-time engines can be used for AI, and real-time engines could be used for driving electronics, anything of that nature. But more often than not, graphical games and or rendering technologies.
Okay, good. That's it in a nutshell. So what types of content can be created with real-time engines?
That's what's incredible. Originally, we've only known real-time engines to be like, yeah, I'm going to make a video game and I'm going to play it on my TV and that's that. And now we've seen video game engines and real-time engines evolve into AR. VR even. We've seen it for displays, interactive media. They've gotten so good where the final pixel that comes out of them could be considered offline rendered quality. Full ray trace, shadows are 100% accurate. So it's just, we've been using them for all types of wacky stuff. Interfacing with hardware now is a common thing, so you can make kinetic sculptures react from a real-time engine based off of variables and inputs. So yeah, lots of different things.
Yeah, and just a lot of things driving that innovation. Why is it important for Falcons to embrace this technology?
We know the future is going to be interactive media and media that reacts and changes and is not the same every time, right? And so the future is really custom content that is made specifically for me, maybe based off of my experiences and historical data. So, if I come to a theme park and I had a great time in XYZ area, now my next time in this same area will be custom catered to really emphasize on what I enjoyed last time. And that means everybody is going to have a personalized experience.
All right, Saham, thanks so much for that. We look forward to your interview with Ron a bit later. First, though, we're going to get into talking to our internal team here at Falcons. Thanks, Saham. See you in a little bit.
All right.
It is my pleasure to welcome Jason Embry, Aruj Malik, and David Consolo. As a quick intro for our listeners, could you introduce yourselves? We'll start with Jason.
I'm the real-time supervisor here at Falcons, and I head up a team of our real-time department, where we focus on using game engines like Unreal and Unity to create all the media and interactive elements for attractions and rides, and research and develop just a myriad of other applications that we're using real-time technology for.
Yeah, sounds like a terrible job, right? All right. Aruj, how about you?
I'm glad to be back, and I'm just a real-time developer. I do basically like technology and anything else needed in engine, most real-time work, and it's super fun.
Oh, happy to have you back. David, welcome back too.
Hi, I'm David Consolo. I'm the Director of Experience Technology, and I mostly do a lot of experimental stuff. So I take in, third-party resources, integrate them with our own, and make some crazy, wacky stuff with it.
All right. Well, let's get started with you, Jason. I want to ask you first, why do you think real-time technology has become so pervasive?
Real-time technology is so pervasive because it's sort of helped pave the way for faster creation, feedback, and iteration. And that sort of helps with quality in the creation process in general. And then it can help give people an experience that feels more catered specifically to them. So game engines have been crossing over into VFX for years now. And really, it's the last 5 years or so that they've sort of taken this huge leap forward in powering our daily interactions. And of course, we're seeing a huge adoption of that technology now make its way into theme parks and location-based entertainment the last several years. The ability for people to interact immediately with content that's created uniquely for them in real time and have that power to shape that experience as they make decisions throughout their day in the park is going to really be the driving force, not behind just LBEs and theme parks, but really all forms of social interactions and entertainment over the next decade, I think.
Yeah, that's really cool stuff. So how have advancements in real-time technology allowed themed experience design studios like ours to create more engaging guest experiences? Aruj?
Well, real-time technology has, allowed us to make everything just so much more interactive. Instead of just sitting there watching something happening like we've been doing for so long, we can actively go in and change things ourselves. And that makes everything just so much more fun, so much more entertaining for everyone, including the guests, and it makes it fun for us to create because we're thinking about everyone and how they will be interacting with these things, and we have to try it out. We have to do so many things. We got to figure out creative things that have never been done before, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was kind of like watching paint dry, the process before.
Yeah.
David?
Yeah, well, one of the cool things that really interests me is the medium at which we create our interactives on. At home, we all have phones and computers, normally a rectangle screen and now VR screens. So the consumer base is getting more expansive when it comes to the interactives, but we still have the upper edge in making even crazier experiences using different mediums, dome screens, extremely huge screens, multiple screens, projection mapping. So we really get the creative freedom to make something out of this world that you really can't experience at home. And that's the kind of driving goal, is to make something that you can't experience at home.
Yeah, which makes it more engaging. What do you think, Jason?
I think a lot of industries, but themed entertainment in particular, are really looking at what multiplayer video games have been doing for a long time now as a guide on how to incorporate that same player experience into that guest experience at an LBE. So, the biggest buzzword the last 6 to 12 months has been the metaverse, and people all have different definitions and different kinds of metaverses out there. But really, video games have for a long time been doing a lot of what people are looking to accomplish in that new digital space that they're creating. And really, the most successful metaverses that are going to develop with companies over the next, several years are going to certainly have people from the gaming industry playing a large role in that creation.
Just the foundation of real time is like you can create the background. Well, we use The Mandalorian because we talked about that in the VES podcast.
That's right.
So those sets weren't actually physically there. Talk us through that production.
Yeah, so the interesting thing is a lot of the digital environments are fully CG, and then when you get to set and shoot, and whether you're using green screen or LED or blue screen or whatever, you're still doing some of that scenic design that you would normally do in set design. And that kind of feeds into the whole experience. And the great thing is, you can change the time of day and things like that as well with it. So.
Right. Yeah, lighting comes into play just like it would normally, right?
Yeah, and you can actively change your vision and direction, which is something you can't do when you're just filming in a real set. You have to wait till the time is right. And if it's gone, then you have to wait till the next day. But with this, you can basically make the time right all the time.
Yeah, the value added is incredible. David, you've worked on a lot of projects at Falcons that require outside-the-box thinking. How has real-time played a direct role in some of those efforts?
Real-time is extremely responsive, and so when you make a change, you can see the effects of it very quickly. So dynamically adjusting and changing values is extremely easy in real-time. And so let's say, for example, we make a motion seat, and it doesn't feel right. I can change a slider and it feels right. I can make it stronger or lesser of a force. And that's something that in real time you really get the added benefit of.
Is there a drop in quality at all? Like when you use real time versus a more traditional development tool, is there a visible drop?
I don't think there is any like drop in quality simply because it just takes time and effort to get the exact same result if you really want it to be the same result. The main thing about game development, real time, and just anything related to more real time media over baked media is you just have to manage that performance with the quality. And as long as you can balance those two things, you can go as high fidelity or as low fidelity as you wanted to.
Jason, how does real-time contribute to virtual production?
So real-time engines are basically the foundation of virtual production, whether you're using LED walls, LED volumes, green screen or blue screen. We talked about this a little earlier too. There are many different ways to incorporate game engines into your production to help save time and iterate more often. I think that's the key. The more you can iterate, the faster you can iterate, the better end product you're going to get. So there's just as many ways to use real-time engines in virtual production as there are different types of production. So it really depends on if you're using it for final pixel, in-camera work, if you're using it to help try out different environments, different times of day in the same shoot. That is something that is very integral to LBEs, I think, in the next several years. And, we're working on that with our Game Suite product. And, David could probably give a little more insight into how that works.
Game Suite is our interactive playground. It's a product that we've created that allows us to play games on basically 5 screens, 5 projectors, encompassing the user, multiple users, actually. But we create experiences both in Unity and in Unreal for the Game Suite product. But one of the cool things about it is that we can actually use it as a virtual production stage. And so while we're demoing to clients or guests a game that we created in the Game Suite, they'll play it, they're tracked, and they can experience it, and they interact with the game. Then we'll turn on a feature called the cinematic mode, and basically we'll attach a tracker to an iPhone, and they're now inside the game from the perspective of their iPhone or their Android phone. And so we can walk around them as they're playing the game, and it looks like they're inside of the game, like a virtual reality game. And so the concepts of virtual production and real-time gaming in this case are extremely jointly connected, and it's fun to do the switch and show them back the video content of them playing it, and it's such a good social experience that you can share with others, and it's really, really cool.
Nice. So Jason, talk to us about procedural animation. I hear this term a lot. What's it mean?
Procedural animation is basically just a way to automatically generate action in a real-time engine that gives you a lot more variation or diverse options. This can be offsetting a camera path a different amount each time with your camera with a script that goes through as it goes through an environment, or randomly assigning different types of walk or run animations to characters in the same scene. Powered with artificial intelligence like behavioral trees, that's where the power of procedural really can come in. You can create entire cities full of people, cars, trains that react to their environment based on input and play randomly selected animations that make everything feel as if events are really happening. You can use it to power particle systems like water and smoke that will interact with characters in like a volumetric way. Hair, fur simulations, cloth simulations, all done procedurally. There are an infinite number of applications that benefit from being handled procedurally in a game engine that really give you more of that lifelike interaction that you can't get by hand keying everything.
We're so used to keyframing in our animations and stuff, so one of the biggest things that I personally take away from procedural animation is how realistic things become when you go that route. It just feels real, and the reason why it feels real and not just a copy of whatever you've seen before is because it's procedural. It's because it's understanding and in a way thinking like an AI. It adapts to whatever you're doing. It adapts to whatever is happening in this environment. And that's what immerses you more than a lot of other things.
Yeah, so at what point are these machines going to be smarter than us? Is that coming?
Hopefully never.
Version 2, we got this.
2.0. All right, well, that wraps up our conversation. Thank you so much for joining. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for having us back, Frederick.
It's time to welcome Ron Martin from Unity. Ron, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, and my gratitude and thanks to all the team at Falcon's Digital Media. We're always amazed at the high level of quality and production that you generate. So thanks for bringing this to the whole community.
Absolutely. No, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Unity is one of the most widely used game development platforms in the world, but it's been used for a lot of other applications as well. How did you start seeing Unity being used for things outside of games?
Unity became, in its early days, the most accepted platform for developing independent games, primarily because of the Apple Store. The App Store for iPhones was probably the first place where we saw a significant jump in the use case of developing independent games for mobile phones. In starting at that level and opening up the opportunities, we saw many independent people who are appreciating that mobile device as a means to do more than just play games. And I remember one of the first times seeing something built in Unity that had 3D that wasn't a game, and thought to myself, this is going to change the way that people perceive not only their handheld devices, but also the engine and what we could potentially create.
I clearly remember that boom as soon as I think the iPhone 1 even came out. And I remember where it was like, hey, you have a computer in your pocket now. Oh, and the networks aren't even ready for this. Like nobody was able to really stream anything because it was like on edge. And then we started seeing the catch up. And as soon as that app store hit and these indie developers started coming out and making really interesting use cases for this phone, it was like, oh, we can do this now. Oh, we can do this now. And it's just been really interesting to watch.
The way that inspired people, and it's been a fundamental factor of the users helping us drive not only the features in the platform, but also figuring out ways to use that little pocket computer to connect not only with other users, but other pieces of technology. What we've done over the last couple of years is taken a look at how devices can be built as a companion application to the Unity editor. We have one mixed reality product called Mars, and Mars allows you to be able to author using your phone at runtime to be able to create environments and games and interactivity using the phone connected to the editor. Another use case of this is in our virtual production team. We've created something called the VCam, and that virtual camera system uses real world algorithms and camera settings, which allows storytellers to work with a virtual camera inside of the Unity editor. The same goes for our facial tracking solution. By using different aspects of external tools, we can then bring what those tools allow creators to embrace into this virtual world of authoring and developing.
What industry do you see it transforming next? And what do you envision as the next frontier for real time?
Well, I think the human condition is going to continue to embrace technology as an augmentation of their physical world. There's a lot of buzz around the concept of digital twin. We really are on this, what I consider to be the renaissance of this digital twin, this idea of being who you are in a virtual environment and how you want to be perceived. That to me is the most exciting idea that we have to share with developers and people. And that is, to me, where the next obstacle resides, is how do more people contribute to who they are and what they want to be in these different spaces.
Can you expand, what would a digital twin mean for us and in the world of entertainment or even themed attractions? What's something we could do with the digital twin?
I'm a huge fan of theme parks. Wherever I go, and I've traveled the world extensively and had that honor to represent Unity in different places around the globe, there are different types of theme parks. There are different passions. There are different cultural appreciations in every part of the world. And they, in and themselves, are trying to transport you somewhere outside of your body. So this ecstatic kind of a feeling or this embodiment of who you are in that scenario is always been a goal of this concept of theme parks. Mm-hmm. I feel that journey, that concept of being able to prototype and evaluate the experience far before even putting CAD to paper gives you an opportunity to see what differentiates your experience from others. And I think that is an opportunity that we just can't deny anymore. that by pre-visualizing the concept and then figuring out a way to do it, you're helping take that creative impetus or the reason or IP and bring the most of that IP to the rider or the viewer.
That is wild. Basically like, hey, let me see every possible scenario and we're going to come down to the best thing possible, all virtually. We know that Unity, it's been a very exciting tool for us here in the themed entertainment world. We use it in a lot of different capacities. What usage trends are you noticing from the industry that you find the most interesting, specifically talking about themed attractions? And then as a follow-up, are there things that you are noticing in other industries that they're doing that you might feel are ripe for the themed attraction industry to use?
It is the ultimate adventure to be able to detach from your everyday life and, really immerse yourself in a themed scenario of your own choice. If leading up to an event, you had an interaction with an augmented or virtual character, and then that character also became your pathway or your spirit guide or your ambassador through the ride scenario, then out the other side, it became a longer lasting memory, which not only harkened back to the experiences you had in the theme park, but also extended that concept over into your everyday life.
Yeah, very impactful.
And again, I lean back into the concept of the device in your pocket. Why shouldn't it speak to you in a language or a tone or in a voice that you like? Why isn't there elements of different themed adventures that can give you more joy in your day to day? That's one aspect that I think where Unity is very strong in being able to touch on all those different elements. Embracing real-time animation and real-time visuals with interactivity in theme parks is going to be the next big aspect of where I feel the augmented theme park will reside. Even with some of the attractions and some of the content that exists now, by building real-time graphics into that immersive experience, we expand that and become a more meaningful and more action-based or information-based exhibit.
We agree with you 110%. All right. Dare I say it? Metaverse. Are you excited?
I'm excited by any opportunity to expand the realities of how we embrace digital culture. We are on a journey through these different worlds, through these different experiences. I think when we think about what Unity's stance is, the metaverse is a logical extension of what we're currently doing. It is encompassing the use of all the different types of tools and the different devices, and how we're going to access those and how we're going to share those is what's really going to be able to pull people together to share information, collaborate, and learn from each other. Now, there's obviously all sorts of opportunity to capitalize on this new marketability of real-time 3D. And I think that we're going to play a very important role in how that's going to take shape.
Absolutely. The one thing that really stood out when you mentioned is, that there are these technologies that are going to be linking our physical and digital self, right? What are some of these upcoming technologies, whether hardware and or software, that lend themselves to real time, are you excited for the most? What do you see?
I see a lot of mobility. I see a lot of data and detail coming from smaller devices, that portability. I see that machine learning and AI is really going to allow people to get over some of the hurdles of interfacing with content creation, where perhaps people aren't as artistic as someone who has learned the skills to manipulate the tools to be able to create objects for real time. We're going to see a lot of devices help us bring physical elements into the digital and manipulate them. But some of the most amazing opportunities that exist are not in the super high realistic or photorealistic realm just yet. I think that the technologies have a long way to go. But it's the modes in which we're going to interact with other humans in these virtual spaces. And we're discovering new UX paradigms and manners to work on daily basis, which help us express ourselves. And I think that is where we're going to see the most advancement, is through that demand of being able to express and be who we want to be in these spaces.
Very cool. Well, Ron, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And I really appreciate all your insight into the world of real-time 3D and how Unity plays a role.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited about where the theme park and immersive entertainment markets are going. And I'm also so happy to share my thoughts with the people that follow the podcast. And please give my best to everyone there at Falcons.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Well, there you have it. Everyone's an expert in real time now, right?
Yeah, we all know everything that is about to happen.
Right. So we all have this crystal ball we're looking into, and we can see how fantastic the future is. But just want to get your take on our interviews today. I
thought they were fantastic. Hearing these stories from people that are in it, people that are living and breathing it, and how pervasive it is now and is going to continue to be as these technologies democratize onto everyone's mobile and personal computers and other means of communication. It's just super exciting how close this stuff is getting. Yeah, it's a great time to be working in themed entertainment and themed experience design. Absolutely. All right, well, I want to thank Saham Ali for joining me for this episode. I thought you did a fantastic job with Ron. Oh, thank you. And especially thanks to our other guests as well, Jason Embry, Aruj Malik, and David Consolo from Falcons, and of course, Ron Martin from Unity. So that concludes this episode of Experience Imagination. Thank you all so much for listening.
Thank you for listening to Experience Imagination, a Falcons Creative Group production. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and share with your friends. To keep up with our latest news, visit us on the web at falconscreativegroup.com and follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas for future episodes, please email us at podcast@falconscreativegroup.com.